this kind of hopelessness that exists in our country. We can't afford to lose a generation of tomorrow's doctors, scientists, and teachers to poverty. When we're losing jobs month after month after month, the fundamentals of our economy are not strong. And it's time we had a president who understands that. I want to move quickly on things that will help the economy create jobs right now. Extending unemployment insurance to help people get back on their feet. American families, since George Bush has been in office, have seen average family incomes go down $2,000. We're going to work with your employer to lower the cost of your premiums by up to $2,500 a year. These leaders will help craft a 21st century economic recovery plan with the goal of creating 2.5 million new jobs and strengthening our economy for the future. We've been very, very clear that we will not allow inflation to rise above 2% or...
Ah, shut up, you fucking liar!
Like I was by a single mom who had to work and go to school and raise their kids and accept food stamps once in a while. I think it is important for us to send some price signals to change behavior. We are going to have to, I think, make some cultural shifts. Tonight, more Americans are out of work. More are working harder for less. More of you have lost your homes, and even more are watching your home values plummet.
Washington is shifting the burden of bad choices, he said, today onto the backs of our children and grandchildren. America has a debt problem and a failure of leadership. Americans deserve better, he said. I therefore intend to oppose the effort to increase American debt limit.
Deserve better than Obama, that's for goddamn certain.
From $5 trillion with the first 42 presidents, number 43 added $4 trillion by his lonesome. It's irresponsible. It's unpatriotic.
At some point, will you say, wait a minute, we've spent this amount of money, we're not seeing the results, we've got to change course dramatically.
Look, I'm at the start of my administration. One nice thing about the situation I find myself in is that I will be held accountable. I've got 4 years.
And how quickly how people feel about what's happening.
That's exactly right. And a year from now, I think people are going to see that we're starting to make some progress, but there's still going to be some pain out there. If I don't have this done in 3 years, then there's going to be a one-term proposition.
You have 5 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio. Mr. Kucinich.
I thank the gentleman, Chairman Bernanke. Your staff believed that Bank of America knew about Merrill Lynch's accelerating losses in mid-November, a full month before coming to you and weeks before its shareholders voted to approve the merger. Those fourth quarter losses rose to over $15 billion out of the pockets of Bank of America's shareholders. But I want to ask you, did the Fed know about those accelerating losses before the Fed approved the merger at the end of November?
No, I don't think we did.
Well, may I introduce into evidence this email, which is from Dennis Herbst of the New York Fed to Audrey Overby of Merrill Lynch, and it's dated Wednesday, September 17th. Says, hope this gets to you. Audrey, our management, that is the New York Fed, has asked to continue the flash report on a daily basis, and I'm sure you'll share with the SEC. So the Fed was receiving detailed information by which they could have concluded that the overwhelming losses at Merrill Lynch were more than problematic, and that the Fed could have done something if they chose to. Now, are you familiar with this email, or are you saying that there's no?
We are certainly involved in a like
saying earlier with respect to Bank of America. As a matter of fact, you really put on them the responsibility to notify the SEC. But yet, you knew before the merger was approved.
In September, I mean, in November, we didn't know about the 14 billion. I'm sure we didn't know that.
But you knew about Merrill Lynch's condition before you approved the merger. Now, did you not? Did you not know about their financial condition was failing before you approved the merger? If not, if you say no again, that flies in the face of this email that came from somebody at the New York Fed who's tracking Merrill Lynch on a daily basis.
Well, they're tracking it, but it's difficult to know what these valuations are. They have to be done by professional asset managers. I was not aware. All I can say is I was not aware, and I don't think anyone else at the Fed was aware of the $14 billion
There's
in
another
losses.
email here saying that the Fed has followed up with the request for daily P&L, profit and loss, relative to Merrill Lynch. Now, and Mr. Chairman, I'm going to enter that into the record as well.
Without objection.
When you permitted the merger of this company that was too big to fail, you knew the company would be a significant player in 4 of the 5 critical financial markets, namely wholesale payments, foreign exchange, U.S. government and agency securities, and corporate and municipal securities. Isn't it true that the combined entity of Bank of America and Merrill, as a significant player in 4 of 5 critical financial markets, was a key rationalization for Fed action to bail out the merger?
I don't know. I'd have to get back to you on that.
Excuse me?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't recall the details.
Well, I'm gonna read a quote from a Fed memorandum entitled "Considerations Regarding Invoking the Systemic Risk Exception for Bank of America Corporation." And the quote is, "An inability of these organizations to fulfill their obligations in these markets and related systems would lead to widespread disruptions in payment and settlement systems in the U.S. as well as abroad." Now, in our investigation, we have not encountered any evidence that the Fed considered the potential for systemic risk when you approved the merger of Bank of America and Merrill Lynch, which only weeks later was too big to fail. Now, Chairman Bernanke, did you really believe that Ken Lewis's threat to invoke a MAC was a bargaining chip, as you stated in an email dated December 21st, 2008?
I thought initially that it might be, yes. But
Did his use of a bargaining chip help him obtain a deal he would not have otherwise received had he merely asked for increased assistance from the government?
But as I also said, I think in a later email, after listening to him and having more discussions, I came to the conclusion that he was really uncertain about what to do. We provided advice, which he ultimately took, and we took steps to prevent the destabilization of his company and
Obtain a deal he would not have otherwise received had he merely asked for increased assistance from the government?
But as I also said, I think in a later email, after listening to him and having more discussions, I came to the conclusion that he was really uncertain about what to do. We provided advice, which he ultimately took, and we took steps to prevent the destabilization of his company and the financial system.
Mr. Chairman, I ask you for one more minute.
Yield to an additional minute.
Isn't it true that you did not believe the Merrill losses merited special attention from the government? Let me direct your attention to handwritten notes from your first meeting with Ken Lewis on December 17, 2008. You reportedly stated the downside of $50 billion doesn't sound big for Bank of America. The $50 billion refers to Merrill assets that Lewis had wanted protection for from the government. The record clearly shows you did believe that there would be systemic consequences if Bank of America took steps to back out of its deal with Merrill Lynch, irrespective of whether it would win in court. So did the threat of a MAC, which you believe would have serious consequences, influence your willingness to give Bank of America financial assistance when you didn't believe it needed to have it?
We had demonstrated with Citigroup, for example, that if we saw a major financial institution about to fail and to risk the stability of the financial system, we would try to take steps to stabilize it. So I think we would have done that in any event.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to conclude with this point. You know, Mr. Bernanke has testified that he was concerned about systemic collapse. We all understand that. He was concerned about Bank of America's collapse. We understand that. And he said that the Bank of America collapse would hardly be a good thing for investors. That was your testimony. But if the Fed knew failing before the shareholders voted. Why did you not inform the SEC about this? Yeah, if they knew about it, if you knew about it before you approved the merger, why did you approve the merger?
The $14 billion in losses that Mr. Lewis reported to us, I don't believe that I'm sure we didn't know about that in November.